When when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind to Raw with John Pollock and Ting. The A-Team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night on USA. Now on the John and Wai take the mic.
Hi everybody, it's John Pollock and Ting. Welcome to Rewind a Raw. The sex addict addiction.
Oh, geez.
Sex addict edition is what I meant to say.
What did you say?
I said sex addict addiction, and I meant to say edition at the end because we've got a sex addict storyline. I had just been telling you all these weeks off air how that's what Raw needs at this moment. That could turn things around. We need a sex addict. That could be something. So we're clearly on the path to bigger things.
Yeah, pardon the pun.
Sure. I wasn't even going to go there. I was just going to just let it go out there for you to either catch or just discard. But how are you doing tonight, Wai?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, certainly wasn't expecting to start the show off like that.
I wasn't expecting the show to end like that. So
yeah,
kind of just joining both sides.
Yeah, I didn't really expect this on my... well, what am I saying? Of course I expected this on my wrestling programming tonight. We had a big divorce court. So,
yeah.
I thought it would be the culmination, but instead it just looks like it's the beginning, and that this thing is going to get even more dramatic.
Yeah, we can do the actual divorce proceedings. That could be fun, where we bring in some legal... characters to all of this. Then there's the split of the assets, of course, where we can go on location in Nashville and maybe they split the house in half. Lashley moves in. That could be fun. What else could we do? Then I'm sure it's been so long now they could bring back the live sex celebration with Lana and Lashley. Lana gets pregnant.
Okay,
Rusev
stop.
finds new love.
Stop, John. I know it's like a fun bit. I don't even want to spend the mental energy, more mental energy than I need to on this whole thing.
Well, I'm just saying, they could get 2 years out of this easy.
Yeah, they definitely can. And I guess we all have to suffer.
Well, we do that anyway. So, what did you get up to this weekend? It was not a crazy weekend for professional wrestling. Did you get some time to just enjoy life this past weekend? Because we've got an insane week coming up.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I saw some friends. I spent Sunday really doing a whole lot of nothing, so that was really nice.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it was great. And yeah, just went all over the neighborhood.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
good. Yeah, I got up to a bunch of stuff, actually. I go on... where did I go? Saturday I was out throughout most of the morning. I did watch the Bellator cards on the weekend, so I had that to do. Sunday, I kind of just went out, just wandered around the city, stopped off along the way. Nothing really too adventurous. Yeah, just wandered.
Just like with no objective in mind, you just decided to take a walk?
I just went out. I went out for like 4 hours, just like wandering around. I don't get those kinds of blocks in my schedule too often. So
wow.
I didn't. I was on the fence. I was like, do I want to go watch a movie? Not really. There was nothing out that I terribly wanted to see. So yeah, just kind of you know what's annoying?
Like a drifter.
I was a drifter. Yeah, I just held my thumb out, and no one would give me a ride anywhere. So I just wandered and walked and stopped off. I had some coffee along the way. Went for a meal somewhere. It was fun. All by myself. It sounds much more sad than it really was. It was actually I like my alone time.
Not at all.
What can I say?
No, sounds like an adventure.
But one movie I really do want to see, and I didn't understand the whole distribution of this film, was that for weeks I had been looking forward to this new Jay and Silent Bob reboot film, and that this was a movie. I really want to see this, and knew it was coming to theaters. And the week it came out, I saw it was playing on like a day or two. What I didn't realize is that I had like 2 days to watch this movie and then it's gone. They're going and doing like a road show, like taking this movie to different cities all over the place, screening it, and then I guess doing a Q&A afterward. So the next time I would have the chance to go watch this is, I believe in February, they're coming back to Toronto. So I decided to look this up because A, I'd like to see the movie, and if it comes with a Q&A, well, that's cool. That's fun. These tickets, like the floor to get seats to this place is like $130 US. It's like, wow. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, but $130 US to watch this movie and then do a Q&A. First of all, when I go to a movie, I don't like to go and it's all packed and not my scene at all. So I don't know when this movie's going to come out on Netflix or something. It's probably going to be a year away, but I guess there's, I'm sure that there is quite the grassroots campaign to this and it makes sense for them to do it, but inconvenient as hell.
If you really just want to see the movie, then yeah, this does not seem like it's worthwhile at all. But I know Kevin Smith Q&As, like he's been doing these for decades.
Oh, I've gone to many of them. Like, they're fun shows. I've never spent $130 though to go to one.
How much did you spend?
I went to one in 2004. That was the first time I went to go see him here in Toronto. I want to say I spent $30 to $40, and it was a great show. He was tremendous. It was like 2 hours, and I remember I had to. It was the weekend of WrestleMania 20, because the next day, that morning, I had to be up super early to get on a train to go to New York City.
Right.
That's how I remember that weekend. But on the week, that night, I went to go see that. So $30, $40, I'd pay more than that. I think 75 would kind of be what I'd top out to go spend on this. 130 US, by the way. That's a lot.
Well, inflation sucks.
It does. But
you're also getting a movie.
To that end, people have bought tickets to this. So it's not like I'm in the majority here. So you charge what the public will pay. So more power to them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's my long-winded story about how I am not going to get to see that movie anytime soon. What is the next movie on your list, Way, to go see? Now that Joker is out of the way, what is in the lineup down the road that you're hoping to see?
I have no idea.
What about the Star Wars movie?
Oh, yeah. I'll probably do that. Yeah.
When's that? Like end of December, mid to end December?
Oh, I think late November is when that comes out.
Oh, okay.
So
earlier than some years past.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. Sure.
I'm going to go see The Irishman at some point. The new Martin Scorsese film.
Oh,
It's out this week, and it's in theaters for a month, and then it goes to Netflix.
Interesting new distribution models for all these types of movies. Does that one come with the Q&A?
No, Martin Scorsese is not doing a Q&A. But I would maybe go to a Martin Scorsese Q&A, and then I'd ask him a Marvel question.
Huh.
And he'd kick me out. That'd be great. That'd be great publicity for you and I.
So 2 weeks and then out on Netflix?
I think it's 4 weeks, something like that.
Huh. Okay, interesting that all these movies coming out have these kind of very different methods of trying to make money, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, it's interesting time that we are in. We're getting to that point. As I've said, if right now, if I could order that Kevin Smith movie on my laptop, I would spend $30. That would be my top. I would spend it just to watch it conveniently, which is a lot more than I'd pay to go to the movie theater and watch it. That's where my demand level is. And the convenience is what I'm paying for.
Interesting. I wouldn't, but okay.
And if I paid that much, I'd watch it in 1 times the speed. I feel I'd be cheating myself if I watched it any quicker.
An article came out about that.
I know. It's been forwarded to me many times.
Fast forwarded, maybe.
Yes. So I am under the impression now that when I spend money on something, I also am told how I am to consume it as well.
I mean, you don't go to a Michelin star restaurant and, eat it, I guess, in a blender.
But if I get the recipe and go to try and make that meal at home, I might make some variations once I've purchased the ingredients.
Well, if you can go home and make your own movie, you can watch it as fast as you want.
How about when a movie airs on television? Is the director sitting down with the network and going through when the commercial breaks are going to be inserted, when that's going to interrupt his vision, his flow?
Oh, as somebody who has inserted commercial breaks in many a movie, doing as an intern,
some are awful.
I can tell you that the answer is no. I guess you can only have so much control.
Well, that's it. All right, let's get into the show because we have a lot to get to. As I mentioned, it's a very, very busy week. This is one of those, sometimes you know when a busy week is coming up, and then others, it's just, they start to add up like a game of Tetris, and all of a sudden you're overwhelmed at what all is coming up. So here at the site this week, Way and I are going to be back Tuesday night with the new Ask Away, our favorite show, the mailbag show. We've got about 4,000 questions to get through, so Way and I will tackle each and every one of them. So if you're a Café member, that's coming out. Lots of Café content this week. Wednesday, we've got Tuesday as well. We're going to have an interview up on the site that Andrew Thompson conducted with Myron Reed, who's going to be on the MLW pay-per-view on Saturday. You can look forward to that. That will be up Tuesday morning at the site. Wednesday, we've got Rewind to Dynamite with brand new theme music to kick things off. You will never listen to Rewind to Dynamite the same.
That's right, yeah. Congratulations again to Jacob and to everybody who entered. Really excited about that theme.
Did you know that our own Braden Harrington was contributing his own theme music to another podcast, the PWT Cast, now giving Braden quite the shout out for his contributions.
Did not know that. Wow, cool.
Do you know who Scrump interviewed for his podcast this week?
Ethan Page?
That was last week's show.
Oh, Kevin
This
Smith.
week, his guests are Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Well, look at that.
Maybe we got a connection there. Maybe he can get me some access here to this film. Getting back to our shows that are coming up. So we've got Up Next as well, coming out Wednesday night with Braden and Davey. Thursday, it's a bit different schedule. We're not going to be doing the Café Hangout at the normal time of 3 o'clock Eastern. Instead, Way and I are going live Thursday night. Once you're done trick-or-treating, whatever you do on Halloween, 11 p.m. Eastern. This is the only place you need to be on Halloween night, 11 p.m. Eastern. We will be live for all members of the Post Wrestling Cafe. We're going to have a quick rundown of the Crown Jewel show, and then it is you. You are the guests. We are going to be opening up the phone lines. We will go as long as we are getting calls on Thursday night. Whatever you want to discuss related to Crown Jewel, the event itself, and many of the news items this week. So a special edition of the Hangout Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep, that's right. We're opening up late.
Friday, we've got the British Wrestling Experience with Martin, Benno, and Jamesy. And then Friday night, it's Rewind to SmackDown for all patrons. Saturday, we have the UFC 244 post show. Myself and Phil will be reviewing that card with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz in the main event. And then Sunday, 2 shows coming your way with the second episode of Thunderstruck with W.H. Park joined by Benno, as they're going to be chatting about the Liger-Bryan Danielson match from 2004. And then Sunday night, capping off an insane week, it is our Power Struggle post-show, because that's this weekend as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be up Sunday evening, early Monday morning for most of you guys in the Post Wrestling Cafe.
Yes, lots to go. Do you know that the WWE Investors Conference is also this Thursday?
Oh, wow, okay. Wow,
that's always a crazy day. 11 a.m. is going to be the conference call.
So right before Crown Jewel.
Yeah, this is the kickoff to the kickoff show.
Mm-hmm.
They should have just put the conference call on the WWE Network instead of doing the kickoff show.
Or during Crown Jewel.
Sure. You could have a split screen. Have George Barrios in the picture-in-picture. Have all the investors weighing in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So all of that is coming up this week. But anything else to discuss before we move on over to the news?
Let's get to the news.
All right. Well, we have to start with, quite a lot of recap to do with Jordan Myles from this past weekend. And I'm sure many people listening to this have a pretty good idea of kind of the key aspects to this story. But in a nutshell, Jordan Myles posted a series of messages on Sunday in relation to a t-shirt design that the company had not sold, but he shared the design. And when you see this design, which is a black t-shirt with a image in the shape of a smile with red lips and the white font, it easily could be, I think, related to a series of racist imagery. And this was brought up by Jordan Myles and many people looking at this immediately of how this thing got to this point where it was an actual t-shirt design. And Myles was pretty upset about this. He said, "I will keep posting this till my voice is heard. I'm not sorry for anything I say or do. Representation is important. If this is Vince McMahon and Triple H's vision of me, then this is a slap in the face to every African-American performer, fan, and supporter." From that point on, he had numerous messages afterwards. He was encouraging people to change their Twitter photos in protest of this t-shirt. And later, the WWE did come out with a statement in response. This was on Sunday, and they wrote, Albert Hardy Jr., a.k.a. Jordan Myles, approved this t-shirt for sale. As always, we work collaboratively with all of our performers to develop logos and merchandise designs and get their input and approval before proceeding. This was the same process with Albert, and we responded swiftly once he later requested that the logo t-shirt be redesigned. No shirts were sold. Let's just start there with the initial statements from each side. How did you think this was handled by WWE and Albert Hardy's initial criticisms of this, this t-shirt that just seems, it's just really stunning that it got to this point, that this wasn't caught along the way from anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that it's something that's been bothering him ever since it occurred. I think a surprise to everybody in the public because, as far as I know, I didn't know that this shirt was even out in the public eye until this point. So
I don't think it was ever officially released. I think that's
so the fact that
it never got to that point. Yeah.
So Jordan Myles' initial tweet about saying he's going to keep posting it until his voice gets heard. It makes me wonder what attempts he was making internally to try to get a response or maybe an apology or something like that from the WWE. So I know a lot of people are maybe questioning the timing of the whole thing, or maybe even just the chain of events. And without actually being there, I don't think I can't really comment on that. But clearly, there was some injustice here, and somebody has very clearly the right to be pissed off about it. WWE's response, again, they're recalled the events. I don't know. I don't know if who's really kind of misinterpreting the reality of it. Maybe they're right. Maybe Jordan Myles is right. Maybe everybody's right, or maybe everybody's wrong in a bit of a way. That I can't really comment on, but I think we can comment on the fact that this shirt maybe got as far into the process as it did without anybody really realizing the negative connotation attached to it might be a cause for concern. Might be. The fact that something that even like that looked like this was considered at any point to be sold to the public. Imagine if Jordan Myles didn't even see it, or the fact that maybe he would have let it go and didn't, But I kind of doubt that. It's imagery that certainly means a lot of bad to a certain demographic, and I know a lot of people might be looking at the shirt saying it's not a big deal, but it's not a big deal to you, but it doesn't mean that you see what other people see. And you could say this about a lot of things, not everybody's going to be offended the same way, but clearly this was something that was a big problem to many people.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. I feel that the way the WWE handled that statement, I thought was a misfire on their part. Nowhere in there was an apology. I think at times that, yes, the WWE is this enormous corporation that doesn't get a whole lot of sympathy from people, but I feel that when a mistake is made, the easiest way to somewhat alleviate that criticism is simply acknowledging that there was fault here, and we apologize. This was not the intent, and this should never have been a design that was presented to one of our performers, much less having to place the onus on that performer to have to be the one to educate us. There was none of that. It just felt like, well, he approved it, so somehow this was okay. I just didn't think that there was a whole lot of self-reflection in that statement. It sounded very reactionary of just simply putting the focus onto Jordan Myles and none on who was it that designed this. And from there, we kind of get more comments from Jordan Myles. He had shared this email, which as I'm looking now, I believe he has now taken down that tweet. He has tweeted a lot that he has deleted, including was this email where he was told by a WWE employee named Baker Landon that the image had been run by Paul Levesque, who wanted to make an alteration to the logo to make it, quote, more teethy. And Myles had also stated when he had initially seen the image, it was on a white shirt, not a black shirt. And once you see it with the black background, that it does jump out at you a lot more of what the connotation is and that image as well. Myles has now since gone on. He has made numerous criticisms of the WWE, calling the entire company a fraud. He had a lot of criticism towards not just WWE, but Ring of Honor, using a comment against Jay Lethal that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and saying that posting a quick video that WWE does not care about black people, and has deleted that as well. It just seems like this is someone that has just gone, and it's very hard to imagine him working in this company, and whether he wants to be working in this company where he has so much dissatisfaction at the moment, and what the status of Jordan Myles is as well, because he has not done any matches in the last 2 months. PW Insider reported today he hasn't been at the Performance Center during this stretch as well. So there's a lot of questions about Jordan Myles at this time. And I would say that there is a larger issue at hand here. And it is just, if you are a African-American performer, if you are a fan and you look, this is not some just isolated incident, that there is a long history of what has been the experience for an African-American performer or for a fan that watches how some of these characters are depicted. And sometimes when you're talking about racism, it's not something that is just sometimes it's very cut and dry, where you can identify something as racist, and others where it's just institutionalized and it's little things like, why is this character doing this specific trait? Why is this person positioned in this light? And it's little things that just become the norm that get overlooked. And sometimes you do have to scream into a megaphone to alert people to this. And we can go back to this year. Why was that title win so important with Kofi Kingston to such a large amount of people? It was a built-up frustration that there is only so far you can get to. And I think that there is a lot of frustration about this. And this is at least an example of this company having a chance to actually speak to their audience and understand, how does something like this happen from the very first step? Who is designing this logo? How is the brainstorming session leading to an image like this for one of our performers and leading to this? And there's a lot of questions regarding that. And I think it goes beyond just a t-shirt design that was a misstep. I think that there are a lot of other questions that this brings up as well.
Certainly, and you have to imagine, I would hope that the WWE is having those conversations right now internally, talking about where it went so wrong, what needs to be addressed so that this doesn't happen in the future, who's going to be the fall guy for something like this. And, if that's the end result of maybe, you would consider this a tirade on Twitter, maybe it's a positive result. Ultimately, I think this gets people thinking about the perspective of issues like this from somebody like Jordan Myles and all people of color. And I I never think that's a bad thing.
No, I hope that this is going to open up those discussions, and I hope that this is not just simply glossed over. Now, how do you feel about the way in which Jordan Myles has gone about this? I don't believe that this is something that could just be solved with a simple email internally that goes nowhere. I think sometimes you do have to make something loud in order to initiate that kind of change. But I think that as well, I think he's also going to have his detractors, specifically with how he went against Jay Lethal. You've already seen that pushback from people that, the comments he made about Jay Lethal today.
Yeah, I thought that was probably a big misstep. If his goal was to perhaps, convince people, at the very least, like, I don't know what criticism he really, like, what his specific criticisms are of Jay Lethal. Like, I think the way he phrased it made it really vague and almost a little too antagonistic for a guy that, from all accounts, like, I guess has nothing to do with this. So I don't know if that really helped him. I really don't think it did, in fact. But if his intention was to grab people's attention by saying, big statements that, will get people like us on this podcast talking about it, I mean, the goal was there. And I do agree that sometimes you have to have, speak loudly in order to have your voice heard. And he's certainly speaking loudly.
Yeah. So I don't know what the next move is here. I don't know what you do if you are Jordan Myles, if you're WWE. I think it looks, I can't see them releasing this guy because I think that would be just such a horrible look to all of this. And
well, do we know that he's asked for his release even?
No, we don't know that. I'm just saying, like, this is a scenario where it is very hard to imagine him just simply coming back to work because he has been so outspoken and with the criticism of the company. And listen, some of his points very, very valid. The fact that if you're an African-American performer in that company and you're watching Hulk Hogan being utilized, being presented as this hero on television, mm-hmm. I think that could absolutely and be completely justified in you feeling as though it's being either swept under the rug or at even worse, like blindly condoning it. We heard the stories of when Hulk Hogan met with the locker room and it turned away from an apology to more so about watch where you are in this social media age of you're always being filmed. Like it was almost a message of don't get caught, was more so than sincere remorse. So it's all of these things that you add together, the historical presentation of certain black performers, and not even all that long ago, we're talking about 2003, that Booker T program occurred, that 2005, Vince McMahon is throwing out the N-word on a pay-per-view for a laugh. It's like, I am someone that cannot properly convey like what that word is going to mean to me because I'm not the subject of that word. And I think that often it's just a fan base that just has to, well, I'm a WWE fan, I'm a wrestling fan. We don't even have to hold this to just WWE, that this is just presentations that you have to deal with. And if you're a performer, like, listen to some of the firsthand experiences we've seen on the Wrestling with Stereotypes panels of just characters that are presented to people that it's just out of ignorance or just, hey, this is our thought process. This is how we think, and having to navigate this. If you're an African American, I think it just, there's a breaking point at a certain time where, when is this going to change for the better?
For sure. Yeah. Certainly, I think it means a whole lot more when it's somebody employed within that system speaking out against it. I think, those panels are excellent. They're fantastic. They get the conversation going. But to have that conversation from somebody from within it be brought up has brought way more attention to it than I think anything outside of it could. So I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are happy. Whether or not you agree with maybe like the tact involved with some of these tweets, I think there are people that are happy that somebody
this conversation is happening.
Is at least speaking up. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to some of the viewership figures we got from Friday night. SmackDown, we knew it was going to take a big hit moving to Fox Sports 1, but it was an enormous one. 888,000 viewers watching the show on Friday night. There's the part of me way that I look at it and this has to be to a degree a throwaway number, and I don't think anyone is expecting anything close to this Friday. But man, when you're thinking that for one night we're going to move to another, a cable network that is in about 84 million homes, and 63% of the people from the week prior said, no, I'm not following this show. I mean, this was a dramatic drop, way more than I was expecting. But I don't know. Are you concerned with this number? How much of this do you look at as just a 1 week throwaway number?
Personally, I kind of look at it as maybe an indicator of how dedicated your audience might be. Whereas I feel like, if diehards will really go and seek out their program wherever it goes, this to me seems to suggest that a good deal of your audience is just a casual audience that's watching because it's convenient and on Fox, rather than somebody who really has to know what's going on that edition of SmackDown.
Yeah, I look at where they were on the USA Network versus FS1, and I could not conceive of this show falling under 1 million people for a show that was advertised pretty well with the Lesnar appearances, with Velasquez, with Hogan, with Flair. So it was, by far the lowest number in SmackDown's history. I'm sure we're going to see a bounce back this Friday, but I'm not convinced that Friday nights is going to be like, have we hit the lowest point on Fox? I don't think we have yet.
I don't think so either. I think, the Friday effect is probably more than some of us are accounting for. And, the luster is kind of going to wear off of this like new WWE on Fox thing pretty quickly, unless I would say the show gets that much better in quality. But even then, I'm not really sure. I can't really say for a certain whether or not it has even that much to do with the quality of the show.
Yeah, just a recap of the first 3 weeks on Fox. They started with that gigantic number of 3.88 million. The following week, they were down to 2.87. Week 3 was 2.42 million viewers. So it has been a steady decline each week, and we're going to see this Friday what that number is. Do you see it being below 2.4 million?
Is there a competition?
Friday night, baseball's done, so that's out of the way. Like they should be like, it should be, there's always going to be things that pop up, basketball games, whatnot, but they're away from the World Series competition, which they were going against on Friday night as well.
I think it'll be better personally, but
above 2.4.
That's my thinking if there's no baseball.
All right. We also had, what else do we have? Sorry, I have my notes here. Okay. Then we are going over. Oh, my thing froze here. Sorry about that. The WrestleMania schedule is out. So WWE is now moving several of their events around. We are going to have a takeover on the Saturday night, and as we kind of theorized, they're moving the Hall of Fame to Thursday night. So it is Hall of Fame Thursday. Friday will be SmackDown. Then we have the NXT TakeOver card Saturday, followed by WrestleMania, followed by Raw. What do you think about this schedule, and how do you see Hall of Fame faring on Friday? Do you see it having any more interest to the average consumer? Because I still think the Hall of Fame is going to be a really tough draw for people, unless you have something enormous like The Rock going in one year.
Yeah, I think it largely maybe depends on the roster, but I feel like if you're a WWE fan, Thursday is not that early into the week that you wouldn't get there early enough to watch something like it. If you're a hardcore fan, I can see there being maybe, other options that you would get your interest other than the Hall of Fame. I think it actually helps Hall of Fame because typically with it being on a Saturday, that's when you have your big ROH show that takes a great deal of attention away from it. I like the flow of this one a lot more. You know, Friday is your big go-home show on Fox, TakeOver on Saturday. Sunday, WrestleMania, and then Monday, your post-WrestleMania show. Like, it does not feel like, certainly, you know, you have like the end of the road Tuesday SmackDown that just, by that point, who really wants to stay that much longer, you know, to watch more like a B show?
That SmackDown should be a big deal on that Friday. You're on network television. You can shoot one final angle or such. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how much buzz that SmackDown has next year going into the weekend.
Every show feels important, or at least, you know, it, at its most important day of the week. Nothing feels really, you know, unnecessary.
Now, next year, so now that we know TakeOver is happening on the Saturday night, what does Ring of Honor do? Do you run? I don't know if I run Saturday night against TakeOver. It's a very different ROH this year. Yeah. You know, granted, this past year they didn't. That was already after Omega and everyone had left. But this year, it's like
New Japan though. They're not going to have New Japan this year.
They're not going to have New Japan. Like, the bloom is off the rose, and I think Ring of Honor could be. Like, I think there will be some brand loyalty that it's a part of WrestleMania weekend that they're going to do okay, but I think that it's going to be a much less attended show next year unless they have some enormous turnaround perception-wise.
Yeah, certainly. You know, but at the same time, I think there are enough people in town that'll facilitate a venue that they decide to choose. They're not going to be able to run the same size as MSG, of course, but like, you know, for your standard, I think, Super Card of Honor size.
Can they do 2,000 people?
Yes, I think so. I think
that's the target to shoot for.
I think the brand name is, like, you know, big enough, and I feel like there are enough talents in the city there that ROH can spend the money to make that show feel special, you know?
Yeah. And I think it'll be a good show. I just feel that it's more so just a company that I think it's the perception more than anything that they're battling at the moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Travel packages go on sale next week, and then tickets for WrestleMania are going on sale November 15th. So that's the WWE schedule on top of all their regular stuff with access. Some of these travel packages, they go at over $7,000.
With a Q&A?
No Q&A in there. Maybe you can have an impromptu Q&A on the phone.
7,000. What does that entail? Like tickets to all the events?
It's tickets to everything. It's hotel accommodations. Right. It's some specialty VIP meet and greets and stuff. So it's a lot packed in there, and there's clearly people that will spend that when you account for everything, including, you know, your hotel and everything. If
you have the money, you know, if you're on a, I don't know, if you've never, like, let's say you're overseas, you've never been to a WrestleMania, I can definitely see it, you know, being like an easy way to, like, just experience the whole thing.
All right. All your news you can go catch at postwrestling.com. We're going to move into Raw Monday night from St. Louis, Missouri at the Enterprise Center, leading into the Crown Jewel event this Thursday. And things kicked off with Paige coming out to start the show. And she introduced Asuka and Kairi Sane. She cut a promo saying that, she put over the credits of Kairi Sane and Asuka, with Sane, a former NXT champion, winner of the Mae Young Classic, and Asuka, a former SmackDown Women's Champion and Royal Rumble winner. Now they are women's tag team champions. And Asuka and Sane took turn cutting promos, and it was very awkward as Paige went to get the microphone from Sane, dropped it, then picked up the microphone as Asuka blew mist into the face of Paige, and poor Paige here had to sell that she was blinded. And then she gets onto the floor. Asuka walks up towards her, and as Paige is blind, she then yells, "Get away from me." And I'm thinking, she's cured. She's fine.
Maybe she still had some peripheral vision.
This just felt
maybe like she has the Spider-Man thing that Dio Madden was talking about.
That could have very well been.
You remember what that was?
Nope, I don't.
I don't know. Metamorphy, whatever. Yeah, the angle. Listen, I mean, they needed to tie up a loose end here with Paige. Never had a proper breakup with her as a manager, and they wanted to get some heat for this tag team. And unfortunately, you're talking about Paige, who can't do any physicality, so this is as much as they could do. So yep. I think the idea was good, but in execution, really, the intensity nor the shock of the whole thing really was not there. It was certainly not enough for this crowd to clamor for somebody to come out and save Paige, because she didn't look like she was in danger enough. I mean, yeah, she had mist blown on her, but I feel like there could have been maybe a better sell. Like,
I just think in 2019, people don't take the mist like it's this crippling, it's not the great Kabuki
blinded,
anymore.
It's true, but like, man, if she sold it like she was like not only blinded, but like, I guess this was supposed to feel like acid.
She sold it like she had spilt like her drink all over herself.
Sure, or like she dropped her contact lens or something.
Yeah,
it's a little too much communication I felt from Paige, where I think maybe a bit more just kind of kicking and screaming would have been fine.
Yeah, I don't know if like on paper how I would have forecasted this to get over, because when you do the mist in the body of a match, like people usually get into it as, a temporary blinding spot. But in this angle where it wasn't in the body of a match, it just felt so outdated, just what they were trying to get across. And the audience no one got into it to the degree it was. I mean, you outlined the limitations you have with Paige. So they did this. What I felt bad for is Paige at the end of this, who this is yet another role she has been written out of. And it just feels that, she's, I guess, just going to be maybe part of this panel on Backstage, and maybe that's going to be the role for her moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she could do a whole lot, and I'm personally quite disappointed at how this whole association with the Kabuki Warriors turned out, because from day one it never seemed like a good fit. So, they weren't going to do it anyway. I guess they just saw an opportunity here for the Kabuki Warriors to get some heat, so they took advantage of it. She's good on Backstage, I think. Can she be a manager? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think she has the talent for it, but they haven't found the right chemistry.
She was very good in the general manager role.
Yes, she was.
Becky Lynch comes out with her new shirt. I don't care about your stupid feelings.
Is that something she said? Must be, right?
I've never heard her say this. She attacks Kairi in the ring and then goes after both Kabuki Warriors, clears the ring, and that sets us up for Becky Lynch versus Kairi Sane. And for those wondering the power of the mist, that's why we've got Dio Madden here. He explained that the mist is a ninjutsu technique that's been passed down.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I'd love to go try this out, see how this works.
Oh, you have to practice for a while.
Is this something that really needs to be passed down? Like, you're blowing something into someone's face.
Yeah,
but specific technique.
Well, you got to create the mist. You got to create like the green saliva or the
right.
green.
It's got to come up from your diaphragm and just form.
Yeah, it takes a lot of ninjutsu to form like the venom center.
They bring up that Kairi and Asuka are two of the only people that have beaten Becky Lynch this year. And Vic Joseph mentions that the Kabuki Warriors will be taking on Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai on NXT this week. I thought that was a good mention. Then he brought up that today's a special day. It was 1 year ago that the Evolution pay-per-view took place, which kind of just shone a spotlight on, well, was it that great? Because here we are a year later.
Kind of naturally makes you think about that. Why aren't they doing it again this year?
Imagine in 1986, 1 year ago, we had WrestleMania. And now, welcome to the Spectrum for our latest house show. Becky did this armbar while bridging on her neck, then goes for the disarmer, saying escape to the floor. When Becky was getting beaten down, she made her comeback, and as she fired up, Lawler asked, "Is this what you call a ginger snap?" She had snapped.
Yeah.
Exploder, Sane then tied up her legs and bridged back for the submission. And then as Becky got out of that, Sane countered a vertical suplex into a DDT that looked really good. Sane got tossed off the turnbuckle. There was a leg drop from Becky for a 2 count. Then Becky takes down Asuka, who is on the apron, gets hit by a spinning back fist. Becky kicks out right at the last second and catches her with the disarmer to tap her at 14 minutes, 47 seconds as Asuka was pissed, staring a hole through Becky Lynch. This was a tough crowd, but I enjoyed this match. I thought both women worked very hard in this opener.
Thought it was all right, yeah, but what stood out to me was maybe the lack of reaction. It was
very tough.
The lack of intensity for this one. Not a bad match, but I wouldn't say the match was really attention-grabbing in the least. At least not enough for this crowd to really get behind Becky. And I think part of the reason is, at least beyond the crowd, let's be honest, which wasn't amazing tonight. Part of the reason, I think, is because Kairi Sane still remains a pretty ineffective and unearned heel. They haven't really done the legwork to really explain why these two are suddenly the way they are. Asuka, you could maybe buy a bit more, because, she plays it a bit naturally, but Kairi, it still feels so forced. And, not only is she smaller than Becky in this match, which already makes it tougher to buy her as the aggressor, I think her style and her character also aren't really mean or aggressive enough to make up for it. So I personally didn't feel like she was very effective here. I think fans got behind the signature moves, got behind the fast pace of the finish. But overall, I don't think this match, for me, worked that well.
Charlie was with R-Truth in the ring, and he says that Murphy is not his buddy, and then it's corrected, saying that's his name. He figured out that the Singhs are brothers, and he has bought new glasses, and he's looking for Ranjan Singh, that was Dave Kapoor's character, the writer, and he's going to win back the title, the 24/7 title, for the 52nd time. Buddy Murphy comes out, says, "You may not know who I am right now, but you won't forget me after tonight."
Yeah, so Buddy Murphy got a chance to speak.
He did speak.
Sounded kind of generic, but we at least got to hear his voice.
So both of these men are going to be in the Battle Royal on Thursday. Truth landed a flying forearm, and then we get the update. He is actually a 20-time 24/7 champion, not 52. Murphy attacked him with strikes, stomped his foot, hit a side kick, and then the Singhs ran down. They were being chased by No Way Jose, Eric Young, Hawkins Ryder, and Mojo Rawley. Poor Mojo. He's fallen to this level. Truth joined in. They're all running around in circles. Then he returned to the ring, knee strike from Murphy, and he pinned him in 232.
I think if they're, trying to showcase Buddy Murphy and maybe present him in a serious light, not sure I would associate him with like the 24/7 group, but I mean, I guess maybe they're short on TV time and this got him a win onto TV. Then they did focus on him to close the segment, but I think the 24/7 stuff has, again, no pun intended, really run its course. Not even getting a reaction live here.
They ran a SmackDown promo. For the big return to Fox, we've got Roman Reigns versus King Corbin and Bray Wyatt on Miz TV.
Mm-hmm.
AOP in the room. The room was very busy on Monday night. They said that other teams find it disconcerting that they speak in their native language. Warfare is not just physical, it's mental, and it takes you out of your game. They will own them with every language and style. They are going to linguistically cripple you through their vast knowledge of the languages.
Wow.
That's a hell of a threat. I have never ran into someone and their threat has been, dude, I could talk to you in 40 different languages and you wouldn't know any of them. But these authors,
yeah,
dangerous guys.
I guess this promo really is kind of taking that tag team name, a bit more literally.
They're well read, well
spoken.
Yeah.
I continue to think that these are, very well done. I think they make them look really cool. The two of them have very good presence in them. They sound great in either language, or all three languages, I should say.
They say victory for the sake of our legacy, violence for the sake of violence. And that's all you get to know about us this week. That's how they ended it. That's all you get to know about us.
I really do, though, would like to see them maybe do more than just talk. I know that we're kind of building up that anticipation. That's probably the intent of these is us wanting to see them. But you remember, there was one one where they like went outside of the room and like beat up Heath Slater for no reason?
Yes.
I wouldn't mind it if they like got out of the room a little bit more for some of these vignettes.
Well, the room is a popular place. Once you get a spot there, you don't give it up too easily. The Street Profits came out. Decent reaction here. They were hugging in the ring. Light chant of "We want the smoke" that they kind of let build. And they said that they want the smoke. And then their theme played and they sang over it. They ran through the crowd. I thought they were going to get attacked. No, this was it. They came all the way to St. Louis, stayed in the arena for hours and hours, got dressed in their attire, walked out, got into the ring to inform everyone that we want the smoke. And the crowd agreed. They said, "We want the smoke." And they said, "Agreed, the smoke." And they left. And just like that, like a poof of smoke, they were gone.
That ending was definitely a little abrupt, as if they just like kicked themselves out. I think this
Maybe they should have added, "That's all we're going to let you know about us this week."
Oh, yeah, like the
authors.
One. Yeah, gotcha. I feel like this was an attempt to translate what they were doing backstage in front of a live audience. And I feel like the script was very much like kind of written for what you would typically hear from these two backstage, except with a bit more crowd interaction in there. But I feel like this did not really feel like a crowd interactive promo at all. Like it felt almost like it was too pre-written, at least, expecting a certain order of events. This crowd was already chanting, "We want the smoke." But the promo was almost crafted around them building to the chant. So when the crowd started getting into it again, it was almost like, yeah, we were already chanting this. Why are you trying to get us to do it again? And then the music awkwardly playing them out seemed mistimed to me. And it almost felt like it was, a robotic kind of replaying of somebody's expectation of what would happen, rather than a natural interaction of what this crowd wanted to do to react to them.
Yeah, I didn't think it was like a great segment. I do feel these two, like you can see like there is a growth among their popularity. Like these two, like it wasn't a home run segment, but I still feel they're doing a pretty good job with these two guys.
Oh, you could see the result of it like later on in the show. They made the big save for Carrillo, and like this crowd reacted to them like they were stars. So they've overall definitely done a great job with them.
Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair were out with the Invisible Man, and that was followed by Ricochet coming out, and Vic Joseph confirms he is a real-life superhero.
Why? Because he jumps.
Vic did his research. He found out.
I mean, that's what I don't really understand about this whole superhero thing, is that, like, in their minds, is a superhero anything more than a guy who jumps really high and, like, does flips? Because I can tell you most comic book fans don't think of that as the only thing that a superhero does. And I can't imagine like Ricochet, talking about really wanting to be a superhero. Is that his only qualification? That I'm going to jump really high to prove that I'm a real life superhero.
Maybe that's what they should have renamed 205 Live. The Superheroes.
The Superheroes, yeah, perhaps. But I mean, I think I might have a chance of buying that this grown man thinks of himself as a superhero if at least they kind of paid some attention to what his actual heroic aspects are. What is it that he is, trying to prove that is heroic about himself? Because I haven't seen any attempt at it at all, beyond him wanting to jump really high and doing flips.
So it's Ricochet and Drew McIntyre for the second straight week, and got almost the exact same time as they did last week. They went over 17 minutes here. Immediately, Ricochet hits a Fosbury flop, but then Ricochet selling the ribs from last week. I like the fact that we didn't ignore that post-match attack. He's got his ribs, at least part of his ribs taped. So he gets dumped onto the top rope, and then McIntyre just focuses on the ribs. Everything is targeting these ribs. He kicks at them. He applies an abdominal stretch. He launched Ricochet onto another planet before he came down for this big back body drop. I mean, Ricochet just flew all over the place for this guy and made Drew look fantastic. They showed the replay of the back body drop in slow motion, and it was just insane. He took a border toss into the corner. Then McIntyre's doing the Hogan poses for heat. Ricochet pops out of the corner and immediately gets kicked in the ribs. They go through the break. Vic Joseph says that Ricochet told him, again, Vic getting all this firsthand news from Ricochet, says that Hogan himself gave him the rocket fuel to recover from last week.
The rocket fuel.
Hulk Hogan gave him the rocket fuel to recover from last week.
Did he ever?
I just hope that rocket fuel didn't come from Hershey, Pennsylvania, or anywhere.
Sorry, lost me. What?
Okay, well, that was the that was the operating area of one Dr. George Zahorian back in the day.
Okay,
so just always make sure your rocket fuel where it's coming from.
Nice, I like it. Now.
So Ricochet finally gets in some offense, and what does he do? For like 13 minutes, he's been hit in the ribs. So he goes for a cabrata. I couldn't believe this.
Yeah.
Would that be the move you would go with, Way? You finally have the opportunity to attack this guy. Do you just say, fuck it, I'm doing the move that is going to do the most damage to my most weakened area right now? A cabrata.
Well,
He had that rocket fuel. Maybe that's the out here. He had that rocket fuel.
It's the added momentum. It's the WWE universe.
RF plus M equals superhero flying.
It's all that. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's
WWE calculus.
Yeah.
So Drew then caught him, inverted Alabama slam, discus lariat, stops the Claymore, goes to the top, holding his ribs. So he says, you know what? 630 splash. Goes for it, misses, and then Randy Orton runs in, nails him with the RKO. This RKO looked fantastic. Ricochet, pile drove himself into the mat. We're in St. Louis, so everyone goes nuts and cheers Orton like he's the babyface here. DQ is called 17:03, and they announced that the momentum has swung to Team Flair going into Crown Jewel.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
He lost DM.
He lost it. No. Yeah. Crowd went nuts for Randy, as you would expect. So I
Poor
think
Ricochet.
Well, I think in the end, they did a great job of making Randy Orton look like the biggest babyface in the building and the biggest heel. He overshadowed both of them. He was a bigger heel than the heel here because he defeated the babyface, and he got the biggest cheers in this entire match above the babyface that they spent 20 minutes in this match trying to build. So, I mean, as much as I think they, I thought, Ricochet and Drew did a great job in this match. Maybe
You know what happened?
What?
I bet you that Vince McMahon finally sat down. He watched Dynamite and he saw Britt Baker. It was like, oh, this is what you do when they're in their hometown. You put them over. Where are we on Monday? We're in St. Louis. Randy's going to be the king on Monday.
Yeah,
the writers probably just went, it's close enough. It just let him do it.
It's a very young talent that I think needs some exposure. Randy Orton.
We need to create new stars.
Yeah,
Randy.
I think they really did it. I think they made him. I think people in St. Louis will recognize Randy Orton next time he's here. But I understand they have a match to build to. RKO gets the biggest reaction out of everything. I just think that to me, it was a total waste of time of anything that they could have hoped for either Ricochet or Drew McIntyre. Because I don't think they achieved anything by the end of this.
Yeah, it wasn't the outcome of last week. I thought this did really overshadow Drew by the end. I would love to see an Orton Ricochet match. Those are the kind of matches I think Randy really gets into with these guys that can just fly all over the place and work off of him. So that's probably where we'll go. We'll probably at least get a TV match out of that.
Yeah. But, to add to that, just the lack of finish in what was this, a 15-minute match?
17.
Oh, God. It was a match that was well worked, but, by the end, continues to train your audience that you don't need to pay attention to these long matches when the result doesn't matter anyway, if you even get one.
They're building new guys, Way. Come on, you got to be patient. The OC are in the back with Humberto Carrillo, and AJ was impressed last week with him. Remembers when he was a rookie, and now he is an inspiration. And Carrillo picked the wrong top champion to face. So he wants to have a match with Carrillo later tonight. So it's AJ and Carrillo.
Yeah, you notice that Carrillo did not say a word at all backstage this week. And maybe a good call at the moment.
Well, maybe he just has not seen AJ play with fire yet.
That's right.
Except for that ending with his TNA run.
You know, I would love for him to comment on this whole divorce court thing that we saw at the end of the show next week. That'd be nice.
Well, he's going to need an opponent next week, so maybe he will. So we got Rizzo and Bryant in the ring of the Chicago Cubs. This was a huge score. On a week where they have Cain Velasquez and Tyson Fury, they were able to get Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant of the Cubs to wrestle a match on Raw. That's noteworthy. Two Major League Baseball players. That's something. Didn't even advertise it.
It was amazing, yeah. I didn't even realize that these two were real baseball players. That's hilarious. Like this kind of took, the sports thing really to like a way more blatant level than I think we've ever seen on WWE. It's like this was them pretty much like dressing up jobbers to look like actual baseball players in order to get some easy heat.
Yeah. I mean, could you have imagined, like back in the day, they could have had like Jose and Mark of the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Get destroyed by like the Road Warriors. I mean, maybe this is a new way. This is what you got to do with some of these job guys is like give them like fake aliases.
Certainly, yeah. Think of all the celebrities that are out there that people would want to see get beaten up. Why haven't they been doing this? The whole show should be this.
There was like the chance, like before I saw the Viking Raiders come out, that I'm thinking, if Hawkins and Ryder come out, they might have the Cubs beat the team here in St. Louis.
Jeez.
But that was not the case. They actually got this right, where the Cubs got murdered by the Viking Raiders for 2 minutes.
Yeah, think about the heat, though. Come on.
It's there to be taken. Why would you not push that button when it presents itself?
Really, they should have pinned.
They really blew it here.
They really should have pinned Randy.
Randy could have come out maybe and faced these guys.
Yeah.
They removed the Cubs jersey, scoop slam spot with Eric and Ivar, and then the Viking experience. 2 minutes, just a fun little squash here.
It was fun. It was entertaining, and I think shows you exactly how easy it is to get us sheep wrestling fans to react.
Charlie is with Sin Cara backstage and asks how he's going to deal with Andrade and Zelina Vega. And he said that Andrade knew he had his number last week, but two can play that game. And he introduces us to Catalina, who is going to be in his corner. This is a recent signee, Catalina Garcia from Chile.
Catalina, yes, but according to the graphics, Carolina.
Oh, no. They got it wrong?
Caro.
Oh, does she know Marafugi?
The person writing the key might. Yeah, so, I mean, the announcers were clearly calling her Catalina, so that seems to be the name, and this might have been just a mistake.
Yeah, she had just been signed. She was part of the class that got introduced back in August, so getting sent to the main roster immediately.
Quick call-up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's Andrade Sin Cara. Sin Cara gets knocked to the floor, and Vega just does the Tranquilo pose on the floor. Andrade then misses with a knee, flying to the corner, and Sin Cara hit this Tornillo off the top to the floor. In the ring, Sin Cara catches his leg and turns it into this destroyer. And as Zelina Vega goes for a Rana off the apron to Catalina, she blocks it, throws Vega into the barricade, and then Sin Cara is like marveling at what Catalina has done.
This was the best.
So the idiot gets rolled up in 3 minutes by Andrade and looked like such a putz here.
Here's a guy who...
Man.
Here's a guy who...
He's gone and got backup. You would think like this thing writes itself of what you do for the rematch, and he still loses. It was unreal.
He got backup because he couldn't beat these two. The backup does its job perfectly to a T, and he still
finds a way to lose.
This dude's like Homer Simpson. So I mean, I know I guess they couldn't have Sin Cara win this week because they need to prolong this feud, but God, he looked stupid here. However,
to prolong the feud, wouldn't it be logical to have him win?
I think so, and then you just have Andrade and Zelina get their heat back afterwards. Sure, why
now, they
not?
did explain. They did say Andrade did hook the tights.
Fine.
But no, it was this to me was this even. It's even. And Andrade could have lost this year. I don't think it was so important for him to win this and make, Sin Cara needs all the help he can get.
Yes. He's hardly established at all.
He's called up a performer to be in his corner. Like, that is an investment in the Sin Cara character.
Well, what I mean is, like, he is in need of wins in order to secure some fans. By having him just lose like this, you're kind of telling the audience not to get behind this guy, because he's probably going to fuck up again next week. Maybe he'll introduce a third person to be in his corner, and he'll still lose.
Maybe Sin Cara was one of the very few people that tuned into FS1 on Friday, and he watched The New Day. And he was like, how do I get a title shot in this company? And he saw them lose, and they're getting a tag title shot on Friday. And he said, you know what? That's how I get ahead of here. I lose, and I fall upward.
So then why did he bring Catalina into the mix?
To just distract.
Okay.
I mean, if Zelina got involved on the apron, he could run the risk of winning by disqualification.
Okay.
He wants to make sure he loses.
Some deep storytelling. Layered, I would say. Cool.
Very. Yep.
I do think it's really nice they're giving a sustained push to Sin Cara, and I think adding Catalina to the mix makes the whole, makes him a lot more interesting. And clearly, she appears to be the stronger promo of the two, judging from what we saw earlier today. So I hope she takes a bigger role in this duo, and I'm interested to see more of her.
This will be interesting on Wednesday. WWE is launching their new podcast hosted by Corey Graves, and one of the guests is going to be Triple H. And Dio said, and I heard Corey isn't pulling any punches on that show. I can't wait.
Right. Yeah. No,
Jordan Myles isn't brought up on this show.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
How can it not?
That is the hot topic.
If you want to be doing I'm not saying I'm expecting a lot out of a WWE podcast, but they can't just be doing The Bump as a podcast. So I don't know how you don't at least bring this up, even if it's a very quick statement from Hunter, and then we move on to something less controversial, like the show on Thursday in Saudi Arabia.
I hope they get into all those things, because that certainly would be the bullshit test. Not only whether or not they bring those topics up, but what sort of response and what sort of dialogue we get between he and Corey about those very, I would say, like, sensitive issues within the WWE.
Well, this to me is this kind of a story, and there's always going to be that story, and that really tells you where they're going to go on a podcast like this. It's unfortunate there's no episode of Backstage this week, because that would have been the test, and I wouldn't expect that to be covered on that show. But, that's, I think, what people are looking at to see in these kinds of avenues. Are they going to navigate around topics like this? And I mean, we'll see on Wednesday. I don't want to just dismiss it outright, and we'll see, because I don't know how you have Hunter on this show on Wednesday and don't bring this up, but
I think they almost have to, honestly. Like, if it seems to me like, what they're trying to do with these podcasts is to try to compete with, like, the likes of, like Bruce and Conrad and all these other, semi, like, almost like shoot interview style shows. So, like, again, like, what we all love about podcasting is I think the gateway to, like, authenticity that it provides. And if it's going to be maybe a, WWE universe version of these types of shows, it's not going to have much of a place in the market very quickly. So I think they almost have to address these topics.
Charlotte Flair and Natalya took on the Iconics. Or should I say Charlotte and Natalya took on the Biddies from Glow.
It's exactly what they remind you of, right? Like, I mean, this whole time they've kind of been that.
They always have, I guess. But it never really dawned on me until this match. Like, this is who these two are. They are, like, they're almost young, like playing a parody people. Of, like, wrestlers.
Oh, yeah. They're like, I've always thought this. I've always thought that the Iconics would be great on Glow. Like, or another show that maybe emphasized their great comedic ability, because they're fantastic at it. But in current landscape WWE, I mean, I say that
really doesn't fit.
Yeah, we say that, but look what was the main event on this show. So they could certainly have their fit, but they just haven't really found it in the body of this current women's division.
Charlotte booted Royce off the apron. Billie Kay wound up to take a shot at Charlotte, who was standing on the apron. This thing barely grazed her, and I'm thinking that the wind knocked Charlotte off the apron. This was something else as Flair sold it going to the floor, and that allowed Natalya to apply the sharpshooter. Flair returned to the ring, spearing Peyton Royce, and it ended in 3:14.
Very cold match, especially considering that Charlotte was here. And I certainly didn't feel like Natty or Charlotte were able to do enough in this match to make it interesting.
This was pretty rough.
Yeah, it was rough. And again, I think it's almost kind of unfortunate that we have to grade these Iconics matches in the same light that we grade like a Charlotte match or a Natalya match, because that's the expectations in 2019.
Absolutely.
But it's not what they are good at. It's not why they're hired. It's not what makes them exceptional. What makes them exceptional, I think, again, is their comedy. And I think they're, all the stuff outside of the ring, which, again, they haven't really found a place for. I thought they could have done something with them with the 24/7 title, but they gave up on that rather quickly.
Charlie interviewed Seth Rollins, who just yelled about his Falls Count Anywhere match. This is what he does. I fight and I fight and I fight every night to prove myself and getting ready for the biggest challenge against Bray Wyatt. And he said, I took it to another level when I burned down the Firefly Funhouse. And I'm not stupid. I knew the Funhouse would return. Words that need to be immortalized. I'm not stupid. I knew the Funhouse would return. There's only one way to end the Fiend. It is to beat him and burn it down. Kind of exposed his catchphrase on top of it here. Burning it down clearly isn't that definitive.
Yeah, burn what down? What's he going to burn down now? It's just going to come back.
It's like that Linkin Park song. We're burning it down to build it back up.
Oh, that was a song? He feels like he would be a Linkin Park wrestler, I think, Seth Rollins.
His babyface push is clearly about to hit the end.
Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, by the way, John, I think I'm really starting to like your Seth Rollins promo recaps as much as like the Aleister Black recaps. You do it in such a great, like, bratty way.
That's what I hear when I hear him yelling. It's like, I'm just waiting for him to like pan over and it's his dad looking disapprovingly at him.
He's just at the stage now where like almost anything he attempts to do as a babyface comes across as so obnoxious. Like,
they've done so much on this guy. Like, there's part of me that just looks at Thursday, like, do you just take the title off this guy and just start something new with him? Or do you see... I really would be stunned if they beat The Fiend, and they've pretty much promised you a finish in this match.
Right. I mean...
I don't think it's the worst idea going with The Fiend right now and doing something different with Seth.
It's not out of the question. No, not at all. But, I do think Seth is so ready for a heel turn. Unfortunately, they're in a place where they really need baby faces.
They desperately need baby faces, and he was there. Yeah. People were into this guy, and it was like, it's just trying to force this guy to be something he doesn't need to be. And for the love of God, ban this man from Twitter.
That would be a start. I mean, I would say maybe limit his microphone time too. Certainly, like, not this style of promo, because I don't know what's changed, but like, he was not talking like this like a year ago, when everybody was just kind of more so talking about his in-ring rather than his microphone stuff. But ever since then, I don't know what happened. I think it might have been the Becky, like, mixed tag feud. God, that just like, it made him like a whole new level of obnoxious.
So Seth and Eric Rowan have their Falls Count Anywhere match. Went fairly long. So Lawler, as they're brawling through the crowd and up into the stands, Lawler mentions his famous Tupelo concession stand brawl and says maybe they'll end up there. So Jerry clearly missed last week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
He was looking for we got 2 concession stand brawls in a week. They fight into the concourse. Rollins gets tossed into the merch stand and then through a table with a uranagi for a 2 count. Rollins, then we come back from break. All of a sudden he's hitting suicide dives in the ring. We have just, this was like a jump cut almost. And gets up. He steps on Rollins. He uses the steps on Rollins. The crowd is chanting it, burn it down. Rollins gets powerbombed into the post. Then they make their way up to the announcer's area, and Rowan yells out, "He's embarrassing me." And
He's trying to embarrass me. It's my first time on Raw. I thought he was
this
hilarious.
poor guy, Rowan. He was,
yeah.
I kind of felt for him in this match because this was an important match for him who, just as this guy was getting a little bit of steam, I'm not going to say it was enormous, but they cut his feud with Roman, move him to a new show. And it's like, I don't know where this guy ultimately ends up, but, he was getting a little bit of traction, I thought, as a heel on SmackDown. And not to say it's gone on Raw, but he does kind of have to start over and with fresh people.
This was sort of the indicator that, whatever they were building up with him isn't necessarily continuing. Because you would think that they wouldn't necessarily put him in this slot if they wanted to promote him. But maybe he's under like Paul Heyman now. I don't know how involved Heyman was in his last push. Clearly, like, they have other directives on who to push on Raw at the moment, and doesn't seem like Eric Rowan is one of them.
This guy, maybe he'll be out in the back to the Vintner days. So Rollins is on the desk. He lands on his feet when Rowan goes for the claw slam, and he hits the stomp onto Rowan on the desk, and Rowan kicks out. This thing got no reaction. I will say one of the casualties of that Hell in a Cell match was the stomp as a finisher. No one cared when Rowan kicked out of this.
Yeah.
There's a crossbody off the desk to the floor, chair shots as they go to the back. Rowan tosses a case that misses Rollins. Then he uses a ladder on Rowan, stomps on the ladder. He hits the stomp onto the ladder, and Rowan conveniently rolls underneath a forklift. And we have a forklift operator there, and Rollins can't operate this because I guess he doesn't have his license. So he just screams at this poor guy to use it and like try to murder Eric Rowan. So he lowers the crate down upon Rowan, and Seth just stands on top of him on the crate and pins him in 15 minutes. I thought Rollins came across as so unlikable here, which I hope that was the design, though it probably wasn't.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Not heading into like the Bray Wyatt match. This was the same finish as Rock versus Foley at Halftime Heat.
That's right. Yes, yeah. This was just halftime. I didn't sense much heat for this, but
yeah. Where Mick Foley lowered a forklift onto the Rock in their title match.
I think Foley came off much more sympathetic.
Well, it's also interesting that he was able to do it then, but Rollins wasn't able to do it himself here and had to have a driver. So maybe you're right. He didn't have a license.
He just came across like such an asshole, yelling at this guy and the nature of which he won this match.
It does feel like a bit of a cheap, cowardly way of winning a Falls Count Anywhere match, especially if like it's meant to get you excited about the bigger match on Thursday. You can debate, how successful this was, but I do think these two had a good brawl. In particular, I think Rowan is excellent in these types of heavyweight brawls. Very good looking heavy offense. He's a big guy that throws a lot of big shit around. Constant action. There's never a dull moment. So he continues to be really good. But I mean, they could have easily put Harper into this as well if they wanted Rollins to just beat a former Wyatt family guy too.
Where's Harper? Is he on SmackDown?
Oh, good question. He was undrafted, right?
That's right. I think he's SmackDown. I think they did split Rowan and Harper.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't mind this for Rowan. I thought he had a pretty good outing here. Like it was a fine match. The crowd was more into Rollins in this during the actual match. So it was fine.
It was fun.
Lashley and Lana are in their dressing room, and Lana is getting set for divorce court. And she tells Lashley that she will go out there alone tonight with Rusev. But then it's time to travel back into the room. Are you ready, Wei? Can you allow me the forum here?
Yes.
The definition of madness is to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Well, all my outcomes have been the same over and over, and I don't want them to change. So, if I'm not a madman, then what am I? Well, the next time I walk to the ring, one of two things will happen. One, I'll make sure the person I have to face has a relationship with fear right before I take their head clean off. Or two, they will come running, knocking down my door, ready to pick a fight with me. And then he passed out.
I'm starting to picture these as you saying them, over the phone on a phone call with me or something. And it's just I'm calling my friend John, and John is suddenly talking weird. He wants to pick a fight with me.
2 points, like Alistair. One is when I'm not watching this show live and they get to the Alistair Black segment, the tweets alert me that Alistair Black has spoken. So clearly my promo reciting.
You become the Chris Charlton of transcribing these promos. What he does for Japanese promos, you've become that guy for Alistair Black.
Number two, and I did not mean to the play on words here for number two. The ending of these promos, given that he is delivering them as he is sitting down, it's really hard not to have that visual. Maybe he should stand. Because it is like he is just forcing it out at the end.
Oh, stop, please. Too much.
Am I the only one who looks at this like he is struggling through these final words and wincing?
Don't give him any ideas is what I want to say.
AJ Styles and Humberto Carrillo was next. So Carrillo rolls into a standing moonsault. These moonsaults, he hit 3 of them that they weren't perfect. So Joseph on each one points out, I don't think he got all of that one. I don't think he really hit all of that one. I don't know if he necessarily got all of it there. It's 3 of them in here.
I suppose
I can appreciate you protecting your credibility, but at the same time,
it's also protecting the guy too. If he's not going to win with that moonsault, maybe you blame it on it not being perfect. But I guess if you get 3 of them in succession, that's not perfect. Well,
so AJ took us into the commercial after driving Humberto into the barricade and then a tornado DDT on the floor. Carrillo hit the Aztec press, only got a 2 count. Then AJ hit him with the inverted DDT, went for the phenomenal forearm, and got knocked off balance off the top rope. So Carrillo hit this top rope moonsault, got a ton of height for it, only gets a near fall because he didn't hit all of it. And then Carrillo gets knocked down in midair with this tackle, and instantly AJ applies the calf crusher, and Carrillo taps out at 9:24. So he is the young lion of Raw.
Right, yeah, the guy who puts up a big fight but loses. And that's not such a bad role to be in. It's clearly these past 2 weeks have been big showcase settings for Humberto Carrillo, facing both Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, arguably the 2 best guys in the entire company. And I thought AJ did a tremendous job setting the stage for Carrillo to impress. He had some great looking offense. Both of them looked really awesome. They've unfortunately still really yet to demonstrate Carrillo's personality to the audience. And I know they're only 2 weeks in, but they're starting from a very, very low, I think, bar with Carrillo. He kind of feels like your creative player in season mode, where it's just a guy who doesn't really look all that spectacular, doesn't really look all that well dressed because you probably just picked every Power Ranger looking thing that you want him to wear, which he didn't wear this week, by the way. and he's just like a creative wrestler that's injected into these cutscenes with big name wrestlers backstage. Doesn't really talk, feels like he's kind of in a way bigger spot on the card than he should be. But that's only to say that they have yet to really establish him as any type of big personality. And I think they might have a bit of a ways to go.
Final segment. Are you ready?
Oh, by the way, the Street Profits came out to save him.
Oh, yeah, I skipped through all this. So AJ offers his hand afterwards, but then pulls it back. Carrillo nails him as he limps, and then AJ takes out the leg, hits him with a Styles Clash, and then Anderson and Gallows come in for the Magic Killer when the Street Profits run in to stop it, and this featured a gigantic pounce by Angelo Dawkins, sending Carl Anderson to the floor, and they cleared the ring. So probably a 6-man coming out of this, maybe next week.
Huge reaction, I thought, for the Street Profits. So, they fit really well, I think, in this particular angle. It kind of makes sense. The Street Profits have a ton of personality, and Carrillo doesn't really have that much right now, but Carrillo can certainly make their matches a lot more exciting. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they can do for him.
I would love to see, if they do this 6-man, Montez Ford gets the upset pin on AJ. And we get a match between those two.
Ooh, a singles match? I don't think they'll do that, but
I think it's a match you can, unless you really want to protect Ford until you go that direction.
Yeah.
I think it is something you could do where they have like a really hot TV match, and we can see Ford in a singles match with somebody.
I mean, I feel like they've only had one tag team match thus far, so is it too early to break them off into singles?
It is early. I also look, though, at this tag division, and it's, they have teams, but they have very few options. It's like you're either feuding with Gallows and Anderson, or it's the Viking Raiders. That's pretty much your options.
Well, everybody else is in the 24/7 division, aren't they?
You got Rude and Ziggler kind of floating around.
Well, they're SmackDown right now.
Oh, my God.
You have Hawkins and Ryder.
Yeah, it's the geeks, and then it's the teams we just mentioned.
AOP are hanging out somewhere in the room.
They're hanging out.
Yeah.
Yep. Which I wouldn't want to put the Street Profits with them right now.
Well, listen. Every town they go to will likely have a baseball team or a football team that they
true.
hate. Yep. So you have kind of limitless options as long as there are sports teams.
So Jerry Lawler is in the ring, and he brings out Rusev, who is just out, all smiles. He's waving to the crowd. There's a light Rusev Day chant, and then Lana is introduced as the woman who is still legally Rusev's wife. Lana comes out, and Rusev just continues to grin, and Lawler points out he's still wearing his wedding band because he hopes that they can get back together. And Lana says she didn't want to come out here and air their dirty laundry, which is kind of the whole point of this segment, you would think. Lana says that since she's come out with her relationship with Lashley, she's had to deal with all the haters online that are bullying her, and tells all the people to shut up as they're chanting for Rusev. And Lana reveals the dark secret of their marriage. She says all Rusev wanted was to have sex. And Rusev responds, well, can you blame me? And at this point, this crowd was very entertained by Rusev. Lana goes on to say, Rusev wanted to have sex all day long. He is a sex addict. And she listed all the different places Rusev wanted to have sex, including at WrestleMania. She did not clarify if it was in the tank.
Oh, yes, right. Tank. Can I pause? Did you ever think, John, like in your career, you would have to say like all the things you just said in the last 40 seconds?
Oh yes, I've been ready for this.
I guess you've said worse, honestly.
There's been worse from this company. Rusev just responds, I cannot believe these accusations. Lana says that all you wanted to do was put a baby inside of me. He knew more about... Okay, this I did not expect. He knew more about my monthly cycle than I did. You just wanted to have those Machka brats running around crushing. And then Lana says Rusev cheated on her, and Bobby Lashley told me so. he says Lashley is talking shit, and he denies it. So then Bobby Lashley comes out. Now, keep in mind that about 3 segments ago, we saw Bobby fully clothed in the dressing room. Since that time, he has changed into his trunks and has come out for the divorce court. Rusev goes after him, sends him into the steps. They're cheering for Rusev, and then Rusev gets caught with a flatliner, and the spear gets stopped as he kicks Lashley. Rusev then takes off the wedding ring, and he proceeds to put the wedding ring into Lashley's mouth. I was led to believe that he swallowed this ring.
Sure. What, that's the most ridiculous thing about this whole thing?
No, the most ridiculous thing will be next week when Vince McMahon has watched the first Jackass movie and he's going to do the X-ray with the ring being found.
I don't know.
He asks Lana, "Why are you doing this? I loved you." And Lashley delivers a low blow to Rusev. Lana slaps him, and as Rusev is down on the ground, Lashley and Lana proceed to make out as the show goes to end, and as the two are making out over Rusev's lifeless body. The greatest catcall from the crowd. One fan yells out the final words on Raw, "This is weird." And the show ends.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird. I was like, oddly looking forward to this. Number one, because I think the ridiculousness has gotten to a point where I just have to give up and just try to enjoy it. Also because I sense that this would be the culmination and the end of this.
No,
but
no way.
Instead, it only got more weird. It only got more uncomfortable, and it only represented the beginning of whatever is to come here. And I don't know, I turned another corner here because I found this so tough to watch. I found it just gross. I felt really gross as an adult, not only watching this, but having to talk about it and have an opinion about it for a living. It was really strange. The trashiest form, I think, of television that might exist on TV, and I'm including Jerry Springer. I don't even know what's on TV anymore, but it certainly probably won't be that much worse than this and more lowbrow than this. So fun, I think, if you are able to just, not take your life and maybe your consumption of your free time all that seriously. But beyond that, it's the type of thing that makes you reconsider what you're doing with your life.
I'll tell you what this segment represented to me. The long-term value of this segment is going to be realized on January the 6th, because there's going to be a moment when Wei and I are probably going to be on our feet, and all of Oda Ward Gymnasium is going to be on their feet. There will probably be people in tears as Jushin Thunder Liger says goodbye for the final time, ending his career.
Where are you going with this? How are you going to relate
began in 1984, a career that was born the same year you and I entered this world, Way. And as everyone is having this emotional moment, everyone has their phones out trying to take a photo to remember where they were. What joy this has brought to everyone. I am going to lean over to Way and say, this same industry features Lana and Bobby Lashley putting their tongues down their throat over top of Lana's legitimate husband. This is all the same thing, Way. And you're going to look at me and say, this is not the same thing.
You bring up a good point, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is us thinking that wrestling should only be a certain way. And certainly music shouldn't just be one way. Movies shouldn't just be one way. There are many forms of different types of movies. We shouldn't necessarily look at wrestling.
Good and bad are two different ways.
That is true. But you know what? Listen to the reaction that this beatdown got.
Dude, this crowd got into this.
It got into it.
I think it was mainly because Rusev is a great performer.
Listen, how can you not get into this, though? If you're there live especially, Like, I know a lot of us are watching. I was watching this shaking my head. But if this scene played out in front of me in real life, and two people ended up getting, like, we all watch World Star. We all go crazy for, like, those videos. We're not judging them based off of, like, how trashy it is. But we do afterwards. But if we're there live seeing a World Star level fight in front of us for the stupidest of reasons, I think we'd all be like, whoa, this is crazy. Look at this shit. That's happening. So it works. It works. I don't doubt that it works. I'm just so ashamed that it works. And I'm so ashamed that I, as a human being, have a reaction to it. So, fuck. Like, this, you know, in the same way that, you know, Jim Cornette might criticize a Young Bucks match, saying that, oh, is it like that style of wrestling? Fuck that style of wrestling. It's demeaning. It's killing my industry. But we argue that, hey, look at the reaction that it gets. There's no disputing that, Jim Cornette. Can we make the same argument about this? You and I think it sucks. In hindsight. But look at the reaction that it gets. Is Vince right? Is Paul Heyman right to produce stuff like this?
I think it ultimately comes down to what they believe. There is, like, we've seen the breakdowns that these segments have done well. There's an audience for them. They would not be pursuing this if they didn't feel that they're...
I have no hope for the human race.
Well, this is how they're building a babyface in 2019 with Rusev.
Oh God, yeah, these Mondays are going to be a whole lot of fun if this continues.
When will Lana be? Like, this has to go with her ending up pregnant. And
I thought she was going to announce it tonight.
I feel that's the next step, and then it's who's the father. And they've just totally transferred the Maria storyline to this one.
Well, sure. I mean, this one, I think, with a bit more build-up, it's even more complex, more layered, more well done. Jeez.
So you're gonna get all the tent poles here. We're going to get a divorce. We're gonna have the Lashley Lana wedding. We're gonna get the baby shower, and then the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Birth.
And then the miscarriage. And then
they can't do that.
The reconciling. Why not? They've done it before.
They won't do a miscarriage angle.
There's
no way.
It'll be a miscarriage, and then maybe several years down the line, we'll have a brand new wrestler who does some, I don't know, will either be half black or half Bulgarian. I guess we'll find out.
What did you think of Raw? I think you summed it up pretty well right there.
Yeah, I don't know if I can have much of a... It was draining, I'll say. Maybe that's the only thing I could say about it.
Was it so draining that you couldn't muster a feedback thread to ask the public what they believed of the show?
What do you mean?
I don't see it here.
Oh, I wrote SmackDown. I'm an idiot.
Oh.
Whoops.
Okay. I was looking at this. I thought it was last week's thread.
Let me just change that. Listen, the days all bleed together at this point.
Okay, well, let's go to the forum then and chat about Raw. This is not going to get a pass. 4.55, the forum gives us.
Oh, yeah.
Paul from New Jersey writes, although Paige's acting leaves much to be desired, I have to say I'm enjoying the heel work of the Kabuki Warriors. The menacing laughter and character work is very reminiscent of Gogo Yubari from Kill Bill. Kairi looked outstanding in the ring. The Street Profits are mega over, and let's not go mega over. They are getting some backing from the audience, but I think they're still on the way up. Although booed initially, at least Seth didn't sound embarrassingly cringe. Hooray for small victories. Speaking of small victories, the Iconics were on TV. Thought they looked pretty decent in the ring. I don't know. The only thing better than seeing the Australian ladies is knowing we get a John Pollock black promo tonight. Never thought I would see the Vikings defeating the Cubs. Yes. What'd you think of Dio Madden tonight? Is his question.
I think he's getting more and more comfortable. I don't know if I would qualify him as good yet. Like, to me, I don't know if there's any point in the broadcast where I feel like he really adds anything beyond, like, telling us where mist comes from. Ninjutsu, by the way. I don't know if I would consider him good yet, but I don't think he's a hindrance. If that,
it's a very bland commentary booth.
Yeah, I'm not.
Which it doesn't come with the praise. To me, it's not adding a whole lot. But the silver lining to that is it's not detracting from anything either. Yeah. So I just label it's a push.
I feel Cole and Graves are better. I mean, as you would expect, given that they've got so much chemistry, especially now, without a third person. This team still really, I think, has to find its chemistry. I think Vic Joseph is good at doing like a play-by-play job, but I kind of miss like an element of, showmanship and just like, I don't know, something that feels missing with him. You know what I mean? I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, no, it's like he is someone that I haven't been able to hear like the range. I don't know if this guy has that call in him that is an 8 or a 9.
Right.
But I think like he's a perfectly fine play-by-play, but it's like I just think it's like a very reserved commentary team.
We got a Trent who says, the final segment was one of the worst segments of the year, in my opinion. First, Rusev stands in the ring smiling as Lana walks down the ramp. He should be furious at the situation. Then as she delivers her promo, he bumbles all over his lines with no mic skills. Finally, the show goes off the air with the sad sap babyface getting his ass kicked by his cheating wife and the dude she's screwing. Can someone explain to me why I'm supposed to be rooting for this guy? Well, listen.
This is how you get baby faces over.
Trent, listen, if this happened to you, your wife happened to be just standing with Bobby Lashley over top of you kissing, I would be able to relate with you if you wanted to kick that dude's ass.
And no way. You missed the deeper meaning to this ending. He didn't kick his ass. He kicked the sex addict in the balls.
Yeah,
so he can no longer be promiscuous.
Oh, okay. So he's the babyface? Here's the other thing too, is that like the heel's defense for God. The heel's defense for leaving her husband is that he wanted too much sex. Yes. And also that he cheated. Okay, fine. But
he also wanted to have a baby. It's the Keith and Cherry storyline from Glow.
I guess. Okay, fine. That I can buy as a babyface trait, but like, because it's the heel saying this, we're supposed to be led to believe that, I guess, being a sex addict obviously is a very good thing. It's a very healthy thing for a male. So, that's why you're supposed to be rooting for him, because he's a sex addict. And if you're a man, if you're, any sort of real man, I think he would also be a sex addict. Of course.
This got Mark Henry over as a superstar in '99.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Brandon from Oshawa. Rollins and Rowan was an excellent brawl. Becky and Kairi was solid. It would have been a great angle if Paige was cleared to see them attack her, but what we got was all right. I think we're seeing that what they've done with the Street Profits before finally having some matches is starting to pay off because they're super over right now. And he ends about the closing angle was well done and had some good heat.
Okay.
Favorite part of the night was the sick RKO to Ricochet. That may have been the best looking one ever.
We got Alex from Portland who says, let me get this straight. Lana is cheating, actually having sex with Lashley, and part of that is because Rusev wants to have sex with her so much. Watching these three reminded me so much of The Room. Blonde woman cheats on the guy that loves her with someone more casual and fun. You are tearing me apart, WWE. Seriously, that segment was entertaining in the worst way possible. It was like the best of Jerry Springer meeting the worst of WWE. Thanks to tonight, Shorty G takes my number one spot for worst storyline. Question, who do you think is more prepared to be the top champion in WWE? Strowman, Corbin, or McIntyre? McIntyre for me.
Yeah. Guy from Charlotte. Watching this show, I realized that maybe I've been too harsh of a critic when it comes to Raw over the last few weeks. This week had a good bit to enjoy. A few good TV matches really helped boost the show and overcome the dregs that continue to be the nonsensical Universal title story and the show's strange obsession with devolving into a Jerry Springer rerun. I'd like to especially point out how good the women's tag was. The Iconics were pretty entertaining and played their part in making Charlotte and Natty look like superstars. I don't know. I did not see that.
Well, clearly other people were seeing what we didn't see.
I guess so. A much better than average Raw with more positives than negatives, 6.5 out of 10.
Finally, Matt says, Raw once again was just meh. But what in the hell was that closing segment? Seriously, they are just fixated on this cuckold storyline. Takes the prize for worst storyline of the year so far, and just passing Shorty G. Yeah, we got 2 contenders here, going head to head on both shows. So, it's a race to the top, or the bottom, I should say.
Oh boy. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in and checking out Rewind a Raw. What a show it was. Way and I will be back Tuesday night. We've got Ask Away coming your way. Then we've got Dynamite on Wednesday night that we can compare to this. And then Thursday, live show, Thursday night, 11 Eastern, following Crown Jewel and opening up the phone lines. So we'll be taking lots of phone calls and a different time. So we'll see if we get some different parts of the world tuning in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Are you excited for the end of Daylight Savings Time this weekend? We go back an hour.
You know, I did not know that. And how this weekend? Okay.
Yes.
So it wouldn't affect the start time of the post show.
No,
right.
No.
Okay.
But it's going to happen. I think it's like 2 a.m. early Sunday morning. So when I'm doing the UFC show, it goes back an hour. So 2 a.m. becomes 1 a.m.
Right. Okay. So you get an extra hour.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Nice. How are you going to spend it?
Talking and uploading a show.
The best way to spend your time.
It's a lot of fun. Are you gonna watch any of this UFC card on Saturday?
I think I might actually. I think I might be out.
I could see you getting into this.
Yeah. It's the BMF championship.
It is. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson's going to be there.
Is he presenting it? Is he doing that?
He's presenting the belt to the winner.
Wow. Cool.
Yep. So that's all going down on Saturday. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. That's it from us. We'll speak with you on Tuesday night.